When I learned what Sarah had pulled, a chill raced through my veins. Our shared savings, the fund we had nurtured through years of careful budgeting, through weeks of strategizing, through endless overtime shifts and cutbacks, had been completely emptied. And not for a getaway, not for utilities, not for any purpose that would serve us both. Number Sarah had dipped into our reserves to rescue her former partner. I recall the precise instant it hit me. The transfer notification flashed on my screen like an emergency signal. $12,400 sent to Michael Reed. My fingers trembled as I swiped through the banking interface once more, certain I had misread the details. But no, each digit verified the truth. She had seized what belonged to us jointly, without consulting me, without informing me. I refrained from phoning her. I avoided messaging. I held off on any direct confrontation. I required a strategy, an approach that remained composed, methodical, and irrefutable. Sarah had committed an error, one she assumed she could mask with justifications or allure. But through our time together, I had come to recognize that specific behaviors cannot be overlooked, and particular disloyalties require repercussions. By the time she stepped inside that night, humming as if everything were normal, I had already taken steps. I withdrew my portion of the funds, moved all that was permissible into an individual protected account solely in my name. I made no effort to conceal it. I performed no covert maneuvers. I executed it openly. My device was prepared, my attorney on alert, and my determination solid. When Sarah entered the room, still cheerful as though unaware, I offered no welcome. I skipped inquiries about her afternoon. I merely raised my phone showing the updated joint balance. 0, precisely as I had arranged it. Her grin vanished instantly. What does this mean? She stuttered, her tone wavering. I maintained my voice even controlled. You are fully aware of what this means, Sarah. I claimed my share, the share you had no authority to access. Her fingers quivered as she retreated a step. Gaze expanded, mouth agape in shock. I avoided escalating my volume. I refrained from shouting. I allowed the quiet to extend, permitting the gravity of her actions and the outcomes to settle deeply. The home, previously brimming with everyday routines, now resembled a platform for the fallout she had engineered. Sarah parted her lips, attempted to clarify, to rationalize, but the phrases emerged tangled. I interrupted with subdued command. You failed to consider, you proceeded. And now you witness the outcome when boundaries are violated. Her anxiety surged rapidly. Sarah's typical poise, the assurance she wore like shielding, had evaporated. She wandered the sitting area, fingers knotting in her locks, gaze flicking to my device display, returning to my face as though searching for an escape clause, a method to reverse the irreversible. You cannot pull this off, she cried out at last, tone shaky yet piercing. You cannot simply seize the funds, our funds. I rested against the kitchen surface, limbs folded, serene. I can and I have. Because your move was not mutual, it was yours and Michael's issue. You utilized common resources for your past flame without my approval, without dialogue. That is not an oversight. That is disloyalty. Her complexion drained of color. I never intended to. I aimed to assist him. He required my support. I moved my head gradually, declining to yield to fury. Assisting him? Is that your term for it? Are you aware of what extended periods of accumulation, coordination, and forfeitures entail? Are you familiar with what faith signifies? It is more than mere language, Sarah. It is conduct, and you shattered it, utterly. She collapsed onto the sofa, appearing vanquished, frantic, imploring without vocalizing it. I stayed distant. I offered no gentleness. This concerned not retribution, it concerned reality. She had generated this scenario. She must confront it. Her palms rushed to her cheeks as she murmured nearly inaudibly. I failed to consider. I failed to anticipate he would. I failed to consider. I locked eyes with her, allowing the hush to convey more than any sermon I might deliver. The dread in her stare was nearly satisfying. Not due to a desire to inflict pain, but because at last she experienced a sliver of the turmoil and vulnerability she had imposed on me. For the first occasion, she occupied the position of enduring a truth she had dismissed. Then arrived the attempts to reach out. Sarah lunged for her device, punching in Michael's number, striving to undo the movement of funds. But her distress intensified upon discovering it was beyond reversal. The resources were vanished, locked in a vault she could not access. Her previous companion left floundering with merely vows she could no longer fulfill. I reclined, permitting her to thrash in aggravation, monitoring the disintegration. Each utterance she made, each desperate gesture, Each beseeching look served as evidence that she had misjudged the ramifications of treachery. The residence, formerly her haven, now acted as a reflector displaying her decisions, her impulsiveness, and the fact that deeds, once executed, cannot be retracted. She faced me at last, moisture cascading down her face, tone fracturing. "Alex, please, I raised my palm, quiet dominance. "No, this concerns not pleas or alibis, it concerns responsibility. You selected your path. And now you endure the aftermath. That is everything." Sarah's moisture flowed unchecked now, but the dread in her gaze had evolved into something more profound. An emerging awareness of her deeds and the repercussions she could not evade. She drooped onto the sofa, palms covering her features, quaking as though the burden of her errors had bodily felled her. I stayed composed, intentional, observing her collapse. This involved not triumph, not vengeance. It involved lucidity, about ensuring she grasped, in a manner phrases alone could never achieve, the expense of disloyalty. "Sarah," I stated gently yet resolutely, "this is the result when faith is fractured. You prioritized him above us. You prioritized him above our tomorrow. And now you confront the outcomes of those selections." She lifted her head, eyes inflamed and entreating, but I detected the dread blended with remorse. "Alex, I never imagined it would escalate this far. Please, we can repair this, right?" I shifted my head steadily, maintaining my tone firm. "We cannot mend what is already splintered. We can reconstruct from remnants, certainly. But the resources are lost and the faith is lost. Deeds carry ramifications, Sarah. And this instant, this is the toll for placing another before your own household." Her fingers shook as she grasped her device anew, dialing desperately, seeking a resolution, a wonder. But I offered no interference. Allow her to sense the turmoil. Allow her to sense the powerlessness that she had compelled me to suffer. This was the juncture where she at last comprehended that existence is not a contest where errors can be undone with language alone. Following an extended, strained hush, she ultimately reclined, weary overcome. Her respiration was irregular, laden with remorse and astonishment. I propped against the entry frame, mute, permitting the seriousness of the circumstance to envelop her like mist. The home, once brimming with regularity and habit, now resounded with the fallout of her carelessness. "You comprehend now?" I inquired softly. "You comprehend why I responded as I did? You comprehend what faith truly entails? And perhaps, just perhaps, you will pause twice before undertaking choices like this anew." She assented, moisture still flowing, mouth trembling. I comprehend. I am deeply regretful, Alex. I never intended to. I was not considering. I permitted her regret to linger in the atmosphere. It failed to obliterate what transpired. It failed to reverse the turmoil, the dread, the insight gained through hardship. But it signified the initial stride toward responsibility, a stride she had declined to pursue for months. By the close of the night, Sarah remained in silent contemplation, the agitated vigor sapped from her form. I offered no embrace, no solace. She must endure the ramifications independently. And as I observed her, I recognized something significant. Occasionally, permitting an individual to bear the complete burden of their deeds is the sole method to reveal what they have forfeited. She had challenged the limits of our faith, and now she beheld the expense. That evening I experienced a tranquility I had not known in months. The resources were vanished indeed, but the insight, that was invaluable.